nobody wants to be audited, but I think building that culture of MME is very critical in terms of us moving forward. And I think moving forward, I don't know, we may also try to think on how we move beyond public sector, because as we move on, we are telling people to report to us on what we are doing. Like where I sit, I normally tell people, just report to me on what we are doing. They are not in the public sector. But then in terms of coming up with that report, they have no idea of how to go about it. So moving forward, I think it's a good idea to move beyond public sector. Moving forward. Thank you. Now I call upon the next presenter. Yeah, that is our Ponge on leadership as the hallmark. The title is already there. Yeah, so yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Chair, and thank you so much, Lady Lucy, for making my work easy, because I have like 50 slides. I don't know how I'm going to do this in 10 minutes. So the topic was given is leadership as the hallmark of achieving utilization potential for voluntary organizations for professional evaluators, something called VOPES. And when I was given this, actually I was given the topic on leadership, so I had to structure this for myself. And I was really tickled because I have been in VOPE leadership from 2013, and I felt that I need to share some of the experiences as well as also best practices from other areas. At the moment, at the present, I'm serving as the Vice President of the African Evaluation Association. That's AFREA, and I'm happy that Africa has produced, East Africa, or Kenya for that matter, has produced for Africa 3 representatives. I'm here with the Eastern Africa Regional Representative, Lady Ida, and we also have one of the young and emerging evaluators called Mark Mulubi, who is the co-chair of the AFREA Young and Emerging Evaluators. So, we need to clap for ourselves for giving us. Good. Initially, I had thought that I was going to do this for 1, conduct a SWOT analysis of the Kenya evaluation, the evaluation ecosystem in Kenya. 2, give a brief about the evolution of the evaluation ecosystem in selected African countries. 3, present best practices in engagement between OPES and the government. And lastly, share recommendations for the role of leadership in evaluation utilization. How leadership in these voluntary organizations in their engagement with government can help government utilize evaluation findings. But given the time that we have, I don't know whether I could steal just such time. If you allow me.
This has taken a few minutes from him.
Yeah.
So
now, for the SWOT analysis of the Kenya evaluation ecosystem, actually this is some study, not some study, but some brainstorming work we did again with Ida, Lady Ida, and we made a presentation of the Kenya evaluation ecosystem SWOT analysis at the University of Antwerp in Belgium in their program for national evaluation capacity development. And good. Now what I wanted to say is that in terms of strengths, I'll just rush it over because I know these are some of the things that we've been talking over and over again about, and Lady Lucy has also given us some of the strengths of this. But I thought I could mention maybe the national M&D policy, right? Then the presence of the national M&D plan, the NIMES, right? Then we have the presence of the county M&D plan and also the CIMES and e-CIMES there too. Right, Lady Lucy?
What?
CIMES and e-CIMES.
It's one system, but each has their own account.
Oh, okay. Great. Then the guidelines and standards for M&D that were developed, that were launched yesterday. Then, that's in terms of strengths. Then also good to mention about the indicators, she just talked about them, and the blueprint for Vision 2030, as well as just the mere presence of the Monitoring and Evaluation Directorate in itself is a big plus in the ecosystem. Right. Some of the weaknesses we did identify, and which we can talk about, is, for example, the turnover of political M&E champions. And what we mean here by political M&E champions is that the government has been working, not only the government, but I mean the civil society, the evaluation professions, have been working with the government, especially in building capacity of parliamentarians for evidence-informed decision-making. But the problem is that once you build the capacity, when the next round of elections come, they're usually beaten. Once they are beaten, there's no continuity in parliament. So it's like, you have to build new phase of champions. I remember we have some champions like Susan Musyoka, who was beaten in elections. She was Machakos women rep. We have the late Senator Machage, who was also active in Parliamentary Forum for Evidence-Informed Decision-Making. But I'm happy that we have one, Makau Muli. Yes, Dr. Makau Muli. Makali Muli. Yes. Then one of the weaknesses again, and I've not heard Lucy talk about it, is that there's no clear procedure for donor participation. But we do have to appreciate that the donor community have been working so closely with MED and the evaluation professionals in terms of building their capacity. So another weakness we did identify was that there's this problem of capacity needs assessment, but I can see some development given that MED is now conducting training of M&D for county staff as well as the Kenya School of Government, right? Yes. Good. What are some of the opportunities? Forgive me for pronouncing like that. I'm used to pronouncing it opportunities. But people always complain, no, you're supposed to pronounce it opportunities. But I'm from the lakeside, so forgive me for that. Good. In terms of opportunities, mention again of the existence of by the time we did this, it was a draft national M&D policy. And we were just informed today in the morning that it was launched last year. M&D policy, yes. Then, this one was an opportunity which we think we need to capture. Like to harmonize all government agencies charged with the mandate of collecting vital statistics, for example, the birth, death, educational records, blah, blah. Yes, like the link, when we were having lunch, I think we were with someone from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and I think you need to work closely with them. Good. Now, threats. Good. One, political transitions. You're not assured of continuity. Then maybe the MED people can tell us if there's still shortage of finances for prioritization of the M&D function. Are you given 1% still from the budget, or what's the percentage? I think it may ongezeka. Good. Then the political power play may affect the reporting of indicators. This one is just now trying to jog the minds of the MED people. For example, if the government now wants us to report on agenda, the big four agenda, and this is Suguru's legacy. So if you give indicator ambayo inaonyesha hii kitu inaanguka, are you seeing what I'm driving at? Yeah. So we may have power play affecting the kind of indicators we are reporting, but I pray that it's not the case. Now, I want to skip this. evolution of the evolution ecosystem in selected African countries, I had how many countries? Uganda, South Africa, Benin, Ghana, and Kenya. Good, but I don't think we need to do the one of Kenya because this is what I've been doing, Med has been presenting from Wednesday. So I just want us to share on best practices on VOPE leadership and engagement with government. Right, in the South African case, I just want to mention that the South Africans have something called the Department of Projects Monitoring and Evaluation, right? And this entered into a formal partnership with SAMEA. SAMEA is the South African Monitoring and Evaluation Association. They entered a partnership in 2012. That's just about the same time that our ESK was started in 2008 or 2012. 2012 is when ESK organized with the government the first annual evaluation week, which is celebrating 10 years of this time. So just around that time, that's when South Africa also started theirs. Then the partnership between SAMEA and the government is extremely useful for ensuring evaluation capacity development and institutionalization of practice in government and society. And I thought that this is a good practice which any country needs to borrow and live from. And it's a best practice because the relationship between SAMEA and government is something like this, right? And you'll see other examples and you'll have to compare for yourselves and see what you can learn from them. So, SAMEA, the DPME, the Director of the Department of Project Planning and Evaluation, have co-hosted evaluation workshops in collaboration with all the provincial M&D forums. Again, I thought this should be something that we could learn as a best practice. For example, we have here the equivalent of the PSC, Public Service Commission of South Africa, is the Kenya School of Government. I think that's the equivalent. So the Kenya School of Government, our MED, which is the equivalent of DPME South Africa, and SAMEA, which actually should be the national VOPE in Kenya equivalent. Yeah, we need to have such kind of close relationship. Actually, for SAMEA, for the South African case, the two have even renewed their MOE, which was from 2015 to 2017, and again they've renewed it going forward. And what is important is that there's a lot of presence of government staff in the national VOPE. So it makes it very easy for the VOPE to access government. Good. In the Kenya case, we have the Evaluation Society of Kenya as a national association, which is actually supposed to be an independent voice, a critical friend that provides experts, yeah, and should, apart from advising the Monitoring and Evaluation Directorate, just the same way we have talked about the South African case, should be the custodian of, where is the custodian of M&E within government? They should also work closely with the Evaluation Society of Kenya. However, based on the current context, this is not the case, yeah, and this may be attributed to governance issues and the society. Two, best practice is that the chief executive officer should be the accounting officer for the society and should be the focal point who should provide leadership in communication and coordination with stakeholders. Again, this is not currently the case. There are issues of communication challenges where the CEO does not communicate on behalf of the society, and any other person can just wake up anytime and communicate with donors or stakeholders, which should not be the case. Then, three, ESK is expected to work closely with MED on evaluation matters in the country with a view to promoting the practice and culture of evaluations. But this again does not seem to be the case with many instances of ESK appearing to be competing with MED, especially in public sector monitoring and evaluation. And an example is, for example, when ESK engages with other stakeholders in, like the academia, in trying to harmonize the curriculum, right? And MED is not brought on board. But then now when these academic institutions want to know about the credibility of ESK and things like that, that is when MED is brought on board. But actually this should have started from the very moment of starting such kind of engagements. Then, we are saying that the two, that is ESK and MED, or the national VOPE in Kenya and the MED, need to be preparing mega events like M&E Week jointly, as is the case with SAMIA of South Africa, or even the Uganda Evaluation Association. Maybe, MED, you can tell us, what's the situation like? Because in the case of SAMIA, you'll see the logo of SAMIA on one side and the logo of the government on the other side. And for this conference, I think we're just seeing only one logo, the one of the government and the Day 4 agenda. Yeah. That should be a best practice that we need to adopt. Then, MED needs to be part and parcel of ESK and be as proud as, be proud as members, if only the governance issues can be addressed. Why we say MED needs to be part and parcel of the ESK or the national VOPE is the example I've given. I think you're going to the Uganda case, where the membership of the national VOPE are strongly in government, and actually there should even be a provision. We used to have it when we were in the ESK board with the IDA. We used to have a representation of MED in the ESK board, and that was Dr. Samson Machuka. So the moment Dr. Machuka left, I think ESK thought that
the way you have put it, Doc, is the way it should be.
Yes?
ESK should be involved in MED, not MED involved in ESK. The way you have put it the second time is the right one.
Yeah.
Yes.
ESK should be involved in MED.
Exactly.
Yes, and that means for anything like these activities you're organizing now, we should have ESK actively involved. Ask Lady Ida if I'm lying. When we were organizing our AFREA conference, the African Evaluation Association conference, which we just finished 14th to 18th of March, it was virtual, yes, but we still had to have a national VOPE as host. We had Zimbabwe Evaluation Association hosting, and they were asking, why are we hosting something which is virtual? And you people are not coming to Zimbabwe. But we said we want to build the capacity of national VOPEs. And this is one way of us building your capacity. So Zimbabwe Association hosted us.
But you see now, ESK is a private sector. So it can only be invited by MED. So ESK cannot invite MED.
Let him finish.
Good, we'll get the question.
Thank you.
Good. In terms of the Uganda case, again, you can see the co-hosting of the evaluation week with government entities, like the Office of the Prime Minister, in which M&D is domiciled, and this allows the government to be at the forefront of evaluations. It enables government showcase evaluation in the public sector. That is best practice. Then, institutional membership allows up to 20 members at a discounted rate, right? So, for example, if the national Good. Now, I think I'm going to share with you these slides, but I just want to maybe just give you 3 minutes just to read the recommendations only.
Yes.
I'll share with all of you. I pray that you put your email addresses somewhere.
They will get it in the M&E.
Okay.
So we will post it in the website.
Yes. So for recommendations for the role of leadership in evaluation utilization, I have the recommendations for 3 different actors. One, for the VOPEs, The VOPEs must look for and find ways to be meaningful and useful to government if they are to be regarded as indispensable and helpful collaborators. 2, they have to foster national evolution capacity development, like the example I gave you of the University of Antwerp. 3, governance practices and values. Yeah, these VOPEs must practice regular, free and fair elections and professionalism and regulation of the M&E profession. I think Med has just been talking about the professionalization, but we need to go a step further. Regulation of the M&E profession. Whether we regulate ourselves or somebody regulates us. And for the VOPE leaders, must have good good interpersonal skills and know how to interact well with government officials. That is one thing that I think you're lacking as VOPEs in Kenya. We need to engage. Then VOPE leaders must have their own personal networks gathered through years of interaction, blah, blah. VOPE leaders must continuously groom successive generations of new leaders to sustain the VOPE, right? And we must not turn our national VOPEs into personal properties. You said, yes, it's a personal property or a private?
Private.
Yeah, such kind of things. We need to have it belong to the professionals, right? Not to individuals. And lastly, recommendations for government, lots of them. I hope, Med, you're reading this. Development revolution, that's already done. Standards in partnership. Oh, I need to find out. Lucy, did you do that? Lady Lucy and Med. Development of evaluation standards in partnership with key stakeholders, including VOPEs. Did you involve VOPEs? Eh? The development of suitable and probably simpler models of evaluation for local government. I think you're doing that through CMS. Institutionalized M&E governance structures, that is underway, right? You're doing that. And a government response and implementation tracking mechanism. I was impressed with this. Yeah, I was impressed with this when I think it was Swaga who was saying we made the following resolutions last time and this is what we did. Yeah, something like that. So, beyond that, I have lots of references. You will read them, lots of references on leadership. I'll share with you, and I think I need to thank the following special people who gave me a lot of information. I couldn't have gotten that information from Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, and blah, blah. So these are the people who gave me the information. So thank you all for being part of this presentation. You are...
Give him a better clap. Thank you, Dr. Kong, for giving us an independent evaluation of our M&E ecosystem. It's something that we can look at moving forward. We've also heard about the stakeholder engagement. We're going to look at it as well as we're moving forward in terms of improving our M&E leadership role. Now, the other presentation is the role of leadership, the monitoring evaluation by DEPERTMENT. Yes.
Thank you very much. And at least the three presenters or the two presenters have made my work very, very easy. Now, for me, when I was choosing the topic to present, I decided to go for the soft skills. We've seen the technical, we've seen what Ponge has presented about, and all those issues that come about, whether it's in stakeholders, in VOPEs, in institutions, it's mostly contributed by the lack of application of the soft skills. And so I decided to go for that. My name is Ida Kanini. I'm also the AFREA. I sit in the AFREA board since December. I'm the East Africa representative. I'm also in other group or network of VOPEs, the IDEAS, which I took over also from Ponge. I'm also in the Monitoring Evaluation Professional Association of Kenya. a very nice, small, very cool, vibrant VOPE. I'm a member of AGDEN, and I'm also a member of Women on Board Network, where they integrated me after, of course, I joined the VOPE to be able to build me as a woman in the board. Now, why this topic? We've heard from all the presenters and even from other presentations outside. At the moment, there's a lot of complexities. We are now moving to the SDG. We only have like 8 years to, to evaluate the SDGs. And we maybe, just maybe, we may not achieve some of the SDGs. God willing, we may achieve some, but the 17 SDGs, we really need to be that, to have that interconnectivity to be able to achieve this. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of association. You cannot work alone, whether as MED, as university, as research institution, as VOPES, as your BAD. We need that connectivity. Also, the working together, especially in leadership, it creates that addressing of a common problem. Right now, we have so many challenges in Kenya, from the health, from the indicators are low, maybe maternal deaths are still high and acceptably high as we are. We still have not achieved things like the FGM, as we were being told in the morning. So we need to address this problem in a shared way. And we also need to develop leadership in networks, especially in governance. I hadn't seen their presentation, but it's really coming out. Governance is always one of the issues that lead to that slowness of achieving the indicators, achieving, of course, the challenges that are there. Now, I'll ask you a question, and it's a question that has been asked many times. Are leaders born or are they made? They are born leaders.
Both.
They are both. Okay, thank you. In fact, that's the true answer. There are some people who are really born leaders, like Nelson Mandela and others. Unfortunately, many of them have passed on. But that doesn't mean we can't learn to leadership skill. We can't learn to be good leaders. Therefore, leadership can also be learned. And like now where we are, the things we are doing, maybe as MED, as lecturers, as VOPES, we are really managing. It's management. We of course managing the things we are doing, but most of the time we are not applying the leadership skills. So we are managers, but managers without leadership. And what we need is managers who lead. You do your management, but you also do the leadership. So what is this then that we need to do, the leadership lessons or the leadership skills? I don't need to say it's easy or to say that they are the common things or the common way that we should do things. The very normal things that we do, but in an extraordinary way. One of the things from, of course, my research and looking for people to tell me what should we as managers do, how should we apply the leadership lessons. One of the ways that people or the experts were telling me is modeling the way. As a leader, as a manager, how should you model the way? You should create that credibility. If it's a VOPE leader or a VOPE manager, because I call them managers right now, since quite a number of them have not applied the leadership skills, it's showing that credibility in what you do, walking the talk. If it's in evaluation, you want to create a pool of evaluators. It's allowing them that space, to practice evaluation, to practice monitoring, to learn more. Also, building the professional reputation. There has been, unfortunately, evaluation has had not a very good reputation, and this is because of maybe some of the evaluators possessing or enclosing themselves like, evaluation, it's theirs. Other new people should not come into the evaluation, which is not supposed to be the way it is. Other professionals are opening up, inviting people, building people to grow up, to professionalize their area. but evaluation has been left out. Monitoring and evaluation generally has been left out in this building of or professionalizing of the M&D. The team leadership. Team leadership is another skill that has been sung and sung, but I think the application part is also a problem. Simply, team leadership means delegating, the managing work you're doing as a VOPE leader, as MED, as a researcher, as a lecturer, or wherever you are working. That delegation, leaders should not fear to delegate. They should not carry everything. Unfortunately, I've been in an area where we had the leader or the manager, as I call, who everything was to that manager. You can't allow space for other people. You can't delegate. Maybe going outside, it's you to go and present. Going for conferences, it's you to go for the conferences. Going for training, it's you to go for the trainings. And that really starts creating bad blood. When you see other people shining or coming up, you know you are tempted to knock their head up. It's because of the lack of team leadership. It's good if the leaders, like now, if I was given a chance to help that leader or that manager, it's just to tell them to trust that other people can also do that thing. Maybe they can do it even better if you give them room to apply the skill. Vision has always been sung. One of the leaders was teaching us leadership, and he told us that vision is like you climb on top of the tallest building or a flight. Maybe like Oyego or seeing when he's in the flight. What do you see down? That is the vision. What do you want to be seen when you're up there? That is the vision that one person, as a leader, you should be having. What do you want to see as a big picture? A very good person called Michael Dell, the creator of these Dell machines that we are using, said that never be the smartest room in the room. Never be the smartest person in the room. If you're in this room and you're the smartest person, then you should be worried. You should either move out of the room and go to another room where you are not the smartest, or you should invite other smarter people than you so that you can grow to reach them. But if you know everything, then you are not building yourself. You are not growing at all. Draw strength from diverse people, from diverse opinions. 2 minutes. Funny, I've talked that much. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm about to finish. Mine is just easy. Now, another question I wanted to ask you, which is a very big, good question. If you go somewhere in a certain institution and you find everything is going on okay, should you as a leader just continue with the status quo? Why should you change anything if everything is okay? Do you think you need to change anything when everything is fine, going on okay? Exactly, thank you. There's always room for improvement. You go somewhere where it's perfect, ask yourself, what will I leave behind? What legacy am I leaving behind? What change can I bring? So challenge yourself, challenge that process which is going on okay, challenge it and bring something new. Just look in the mirror, be honest with yourself, and make yourself better, make the place better. Not like the cat seeing itself as a lion. See, accept yourself as you are and accept the room to grow. I really wanted to bring this leadership lesson on mentorship, which is something that people feel threatened a lot. This is Ponge, this is a photo of this week. And why I chose him, I would have chosen maybe that gentleman of young and emerging, but I felt this is a person we can relate with. He's a person who has mentored or always mentor somebody, even if it's one person, where his capability will be. He'll bring someone to the M&D, take over, teach that person on how to do this. This is what we do. If he's going, I remember we went for another interview with UNFPA and UNHCR, and he still brought in another young mentee to mentor how interviews are done of evaluation. So I felt this is a good thing. in mentorship, it's one of the weaknesses that we have. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's one area that we really fear. We fear to instill leadership in other people. We fear that they will outshine us, which should not be the case. People always crave that autonomy, that independence to do things. Teach them. Give them that, that space to grow. Let them get out of their comfort zone. Allow them to experiment. At least, the more the merrier. That's what I usually say. And also you as an evaluator, as a leader, you should also allow yourself to be mentored. You still have room for you to grow. Allow yourself to be mentored in various ways. Maybe you're good at evaluation, allow yourself to be mentored in leadership, allow yourself to be mentored in monitoring. I'm finishing, madam. This is what Anigo is always used as a very good source of leadership lessons because it believes in its team, it believes in, in accepting change, it believes in vision, looking at the vision from up where it is. It's something that we need to echo from the ego. You've always heard of how it reinvents itself when it reaches 30 to 40 years. Going in that big rock or the mountain, knocking its beak out, a very painful process, removing all its feathers and then starting afresh. To end it all, we have something, I think in health, we call it the mental medicine, where you're taught to manage the energy, the outlook, and the engage and the cohesion of your team. That is the mental medicine that should also be adapted in evaluation. Something else I'll just talk about, something we've done in the health sector on leadership. We've encouraged people to have a leadership shift from moving from that leadership, individual heroism, where you want to be the hero, to having that collaborative action, inviting other people, from being desperate and cynicism to having hope and possibility, blaming others. We've had this a lot, especially in evaluation as VOPEs grow, and taking responsibility for challenges. Having that disconnected activities, but moving out to purposeful, interconnected action, like what MED is doing, something very good, bringing in people from other, from the research area, from universities, and from other VOPEs, and from also us who are individuals. To finish it up, I've told you about the good leadership, but then what is the bad leadership? We can learn from bad leadership. Bad leadership is where people are indecisive, they are insecure, they have no vision, they are disruptors, we've heard of that, spreading doubt and negativity, having people work for you, maybe writing your dirty emails in the room of mentoring, that is not mentorship, and constant complaining and whining and blaming others. Now, this is bad leadership. Otherwise, thank you very much. I'm sure just taking home whatever else I've presented, even if you just don't remember. Remember, management is important, but you should crown it with leadership. Be a manager who leads, and for leadership, be unapologetic and take risks. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, Madam Leader. Thank you for taking us through that wonderful presentation. We have heard how we should move from being managers to being leaders. And I believe that that is the way to go. For us, if you want to be leaders, we need to first of all get our team on the table. Let them know where we want to go. Let them buy the idea that we have or the vision that we have. And then we move together as a team. There's no one who is more experienced than the other. You run from your team, and they also run from you, so that you're able to move together. Thank you, Eda, for that. And I now call upon Dr. Wanjiru to give us a presentation on digital principles as evaluation criteria for social change. 10 minutes, Dr.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'm taking you back to what we had in the morning. Maybe I should have come here in the morning. I don't know. I don't understand how Lucy confused me with verbs. But so I'll be very fast. So I give you a refresher for what you I want to say I'm in academia, and I can see Prof here, Dr. Rambo, is also my supervisor, and I'm proud of him. And so, as you're saying about leadership, we have him, he has produced most of us here, and so we are happy. Then the overall of the conference, you know, I don't have to talk about, this is the outline. I only do two things because in the interest of time, I'll talk about the opportunities that technology and digital tools can provide to gain insight on near-time data, on research, uptake, and satisfaction, and then we look at particular channels or tools that we can use in certain scenarios. This is the conference objective. I know this has been talked so much, and I looked at what we are talking about, institutionalizing, institution of M&E. It's like embedding processes all the way from the local level, sub-local level, all the way to national level. You embed processes, so institutionalize, and then the practices that are supposed to be practiced within for monitoring and evaluation. And so I'm looking at the digital principles as evaluation criteria. Do you know digital principles for evaluation or digital principles for development? Have you heard about them? I know you can do that. So because you already know about them, I'm not talking so much on them because you know there are 9, and this is what we look for. And my presentation is just making us remember that even as we go to the open source and customize applications, they have to fit. If we have to really have some social change, then we have to make them very palatable and usable by the practitioners or the people who are using them. And so these have now been widely adopted by so many organizations, and they are useful set of evaluations because then as an evaluator, you'll be asking yourself, how was this data collected? What is the application system? Is it fitting with the digital principles for development? So, and you know, and these have been endorsed by so many organizations, like 75 of them. You have a USAID, UNICEF, the WHO, CEDA, Bill Gates Foundations, and so many of them have adopted. And these are the ones I'm talking about. If you really, you can look at the digital development platform, you will see them. This is every application system that we are customizing should be designed with the user in mind. Then you should make sure that you understand, we talked about the ecosystems. It should be very important to understand who is going to use this application system. What are the ecosystems surrounding the kind of work you're doing. Then you have the design it for scale. Then it should be build it for sustainability. Don't come up with an application system that today is used, tomorrow is not there. And then make sure that it is data driven because you must, because even as we customize, because you'll be using open standards. These are innovation or innovative customized applications from open source. There are so many, there are millions when you go to the internet. So as you customize them, you can hack it from them, not really hacking, but most of the people who are using them are just getting them and sourcing them from the open sources. And then as you customize it, can you reuse it or improve on it? Is it an application system that you can improve on? And then does it address privacy? And be collaborative, are you the only user of that application system? Or can you be able to collaboratively use it in the office, maybe the clients, the stakeholders, are you able to access it? And so when I talk about that, this is, they are the same. And I've shown you where you have to get it, digitalprinciples.org. If you Google there, you're going to learn so much about them and all the organizations that are using. And then you can check your application systems in the office, whether they fit this. Some of them are so difficult in a way that people are never able to even move on with anything. You have an application you'll be brought for and you cannot even use it because it was not designed for the user, it is not collaborative, and it's so high-tech for you. So every application system must meet that. So why technology? We're looking at how society can benefit from our innovation, which is implemented through ICT for development. So it's in tandem. So when this innovation, the ICT, the society at the end of the day, if we are running a project, the society is the one that benefits from that. So the easier, friendly technologies that we are adopting, especially in project management, for social change should ensure that the society benefits from the innovation. I linked up with the ICT for development. And that's the framework for M&E technologies. So we're looking at the local environment, then you have the technical environment, then we have the learners have to learn in between, then we have the aspect of project management, and some of these the simple tools that I'm going to present here are able to meet the project management. Some of them come with the incorporation of a whole package of project management, and looking at the external environment. I'll share the notes in the interest of time. And I'm looking at how accessible the low-cost technologies can we get, or how are they? Can we get them to inform us day to day? Because we have to look at M&E to manage social projects, and so we are looking at the application systems that we can, now that we are going the technologies. I found the MEPA guy talking about GIS, no? And sometimes they look so complicated. But when you look at that, you need to involve M&E from the planning, the inception, implementation, monitoring and evaluation, at the end of the day, even how you disseminate. We may need some simple, accessible, and low-cost technologies that will enable us to run our project if we have to cause some changes. And one of them could be like toggle plan. As I talk about that, we can keep Googling to see the toggle. This is a simple all-round management tool. It is like a worksheet. It just helps you and your team. And you can use it with a laptop or computer. It's a simple plan where you keep filling all the tasks. You key in the project tasks, and then you are able to run with the team members, and everybody is given a right. So you move with the tasks. It has designated the way you put the details, the way you key in the details of a project is the way it's going to run with you. The advantage of these low-cost digital options will help you in project documentation, your project risks, and also it will enable you on allocation of costs. We have Asana. It's another one. Asana is also an online tool. You also enter or key in the project details, but this one, the best thing about it is that it will give you real-time dates and updates, just like the way when you have a mission or a meeting. Nowadays, from your phone, it will tell you, we have this meeting. You can snooze or dismiss. So even Asana keeps telling you this. So you can even tell where the bottlenecks are coming. Somebody is not doing their bit. It's a very important tool, and it runs like this. From the project where you keyed in the kickoff, from the day you had the kickoff meeting, you already have the schedule. For every project, we normally come up with a schedule. So from the kickoff to the writing, to the time you design the project, how you test it, or it will keep telling you, this, after 5 days, you are supposed to do this. So it pops up. And it's not only popping up to you, the entire team. So that arouses you. So you are able to all look through and see, what am I doing? The rest I was not able to, maybe because I didn't want so many slides, you can look through, because I'll share. There is a base camp. A base camp is an online center. It's actually a base. A base camp includes messages, a board. It has, you can chat with the team. It's also for team. It's a base where you meet. So you are chatting. It gives you, I'll just say it makes you have a project management as a breeze. No, it's so enjoyable because you are chatting, somebody is talking about the other person there. Then you also have Active Collabo. It's another tool. Active Collabo is actually active because it's a collaboration. It includes payment, vouchers. Okay, you will not have to expose this, I paid this person, right? But it has invoices. Depending with the person who has been given what rights, it will show you that you guys were paid. So you know the project was paid even if you don't know how much. But because you have, again, when you have Active Collabo, you will have to only unleash to the people who have the rights. Like the accountants will hide the bit that every team member has been given the money, the amount. So it is actually designed for project managers. It lowers the cost of tracking. As you follow with the GIS, then you have Active Collabo, and this is a teamwork. It's just downloaded from the internet. All these are in the open sources. We can get them, customize them, and put them in our laptops and involve the entire team, including that shopkeeper if you're doing a business, supply business. So it's a very good thing. Then the others are too many there, like Trello. This one just gives you, it's not really, it's for total, simply project management. This one really focuses on a particular project because it will talk about, depends so much on data, and so it filters data. If the data was wrongly keyed in, depending on the way the project was designed, it will filter for you. And one which I'm using currently is Zoho Projects. I have a project that we are running from, with different places in the, London, South Africa, and we are using Zoho Projects. We just have simply, it is within the Dropbox, and we have a Google platform where every day you wake up and you key in what you are doing and where you are, goes an evaluation that is done by most, in 4 continents, and you are able to move on. And so every time there is a different timeline, we are always updated because it's within the Google app. It's just a link. But when you click in, all of you can do so many things that I go. Even when you make a mistake or you want to comment, you can change. So these are working very well. And Zoho Projects, whatever, and also Liquid Planner almost work through the same way. But Liquid Planner has a dashboard. Now, I've seen a dashboard with, and this is office, the MED. So it has a dashboard to give you colors depending on how the project is behaving. And those are just few. There are very many. Like I know about 9 that are practical, but kindly just access through. There are so many we can customize so much. And then we have the civil evaluation criteria. This is also just like there you have the OECD criteria. This one looks at the performance, the governance, the impact, the sustainability. It's just an open source also that looks for how the projects that were meant for social change have behaved. It's an open source project management platform. And depending with the information, this one depends on the information that you have filled. So just like the way we have SPSS, if you click performance, it collects all the data. Depending on the way you had keyed in the data. You click governance, it gives you the data. You click impact, like the way we fill them in Excel, although SPSS could be much better. It is just a platform, it's an open source that deals with indicators of change, the way you had put them. So it brings up and shows you the percentage or the rates. Okay? So that's how it shows. So it will tell you about the sustainability and how well the project has the impact, how the particular tool of production works in a given scenario. It will tell you, depending with what, all this is garbage in, garbage out, especially for these lamps. That one I've not, we are still trying to use it to see how it's going to perform in this project that we are working on. So my parting shot on digital project tools for social change, we need to emphasize on how well a particular channel or tool or platform works in a given scenario. So you need to see, according to all the ones that we have mentioned today, are you going to use Toggle, are you going to use Liquid Planner, Trello, or using the Zoho that I'm using today? It all depends at the end of the day. And then how are these tools, depending with the results that you're getting from your, and the timeline that you have taken, the cost, how well did it contribute to the development goals, yeah? Because you have to combine with many other things. These digital tools, a parting shot, must be customized as a user-friendly process. It has to be user-centric, just as we have said. And then again, what is very important is the project team. I've put for you the way that doctors diagnose our hearts inside the heart. Even you, when you're coming up with your team, scrutinize who is working. Are they computer, savvy? Are they tech savvy? Sometimes that's what takes us behind. That you have a very nice platform, but you have no people who can move it forward. So you have bottlenecks at the end of the day. Make sure that you have this requires a very nice team, and you have to do like this guy is doing. You have to be retained that they can use technology. Because then comparing all of them there, you can look for which is a better more than the other for continuous improvement. Sometimes you want to try a project that you are using the technology and a project that you are using the manual for counterfactual matters. Sometimes you want to, maybe the office has refused to buy this, and so you want to say let's apply one and use one. Maybe a scenario, and the rest you leave it to go the way the office wants, and then you can improve the continuous process by authenticating that if you use technology, then you're going to do better. And I think I've come to an end. Let's have a company culture in digital workplace, and that guy is really digitalized, but everything is badging out. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Sandra, for taking us through that digitalization process. I think the importance of technology cannot be emphasized in our day-to-day has also given us some examples on the technologies that we can be able to use. And moving forward, it's upon us now to look at what that is applicable to us wherever we work. With that, I think we are now at 4:30. We were supposed to start at 2 and finish at 4. So we started an hour late. We have 30 minutes for questions. And I will request the presenters, the three of you, to sit in front so that the audience can engage you. And I'm allowing for questions. And I will request whoever is asking a question, you tell us your name, the organization, and if you come from a county, you tell us which county you come from. And if possible, just say the person you are directing the question to. Any question? Yes.
Good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Benson Benanyoke. Working with the USAID in a very project based in Samburu, but I'm secondary to the county government to support the money department. And so I just want to direct my question to the first presenter. I forgot the name. Lucy. Yes, to Lucy. Specifically is to do with the CMS that's being implemented in county. Like to give an example, in Samburu County, there is an issue of the CMS is not being operational at the moment. But actually, some officers were trained on how to use the CMS, but it's not operational. So my question is, what is the MEDS department doing to ensure that these systems are rolled at the county? Are they monitoring the way the systems are working? Because it's like the systems were rolled, but it's like I'm not sure if the MED department is monitoring the implementation of the systems at the county level, maybe on a quarterly basis or annual basis. That's question number one. Question number two, I think SIM is a very important system for us to monitor the government projects at the county level. And also, it's also important for us to have this platform being shared with the public. I know not everybody is able to access the system. So I'm just asking the MEDS department, what are you doing just to ensure that some of the information within the CMS can be able to be accessed by the public? Like embedding maybe the links to the websites, because counties have websites, can be able to integrate so that if I go to the Samburu County website, I can be able to get a link that links me to the CMS so that I can be able to see the dashboard. Because there are dashboards that can be able, that the public can be able to access and see what is happening. Thank you.
Any other question? Yes?
Good afternoon. My name is Lennox Mugwana. I work with Tanaki Waterworks Development Agency. My name is Lennox Mugwana, and I work with Tanaki Waterworks Development Agency. I have a question or an observation. I don't know how the person I'm directing it to will take it, but it's an observation come question, or probably an opportunity for us to look at and see how the best we can work together. And my question goes to Lucy Gaibi, and I want to applaud MED for the milestone they've made in terms of having a policy in place. I know it's been a challenge for quite a number of years. said that we have policies made, and the role of MED is also to help SAGAs or MDAs in terms of monitoring and evaluation, and probably give guidance. But observation that I've made over the years is that some government agencies are left out. I don't know, because there's the culture of being followed up to ensure that they do things, even if we have laws and policies and legal frameworks in place. But it's been a culture of human beings. I don't know whether in Kenya, because I know of Kenya alone because I'm a Kenyan, that we are used to be made to do things, even when we know that we're supposed to do them. I'll take a point where we have guidelines, for example, in developing plans and even the M&D policies, for example, but we don't follow them. I was just speaking right now, we're talking about evaluations. The other day when I received a strategic plan from an agency asking us to do some comments in their evaluation, midterm evaluation. And this is 2020, around January 2022. So, and these people are talking about evaluating a document running beyond the MTP 2022. So where are we as a country in terms of government agencies in planning? Because I have seen some agencies doing development plans beyond the MTPs, and yet we are serving or working or implementing programs and projects which are within one government. What is it that can work together to ensure that there's compliance? That there's compliance, if not commitment, because commitment is not there. So what best can we do to ensure that government agencies comply to the frameworks that are put in place, so that all of us are seen to be moving in the same direction? Let me just simplify it as such and stop there. Thank you.
Are you responding or asking a question?
Yes. Thank you. The education goes to Dr. Wanjiru, and thanks so much for this wonderful presentation on these digital principles and the tools. I was really impressed because as a result of this COVID situation, we consultants in the initial stages, we were almost going extinct because there was no job for us. And if you are not able to adapt quickly enough to technology, then you're going to be rendered obsolete. Yeah, and wanted to find out from Dr. Njiru if all these tools that she shared with us are free access software. That's one. And then I also wanted to bring to the attention of maybe the practitioners about another very wonderful tool that I used. I just had to learn it because of the COVID. It's called Podio. Yes, and I learned because I was just doing it for Podio for outcome harvesting. And when I opened it, I just realized how wide and so many varied things you can do with Podio, including project planning and management and all that. And it is also a free software, but when you want to use it now for analysis, especially analyzing the outcomes, the ones we are talking about, then it limits you to maybe like 20, so beyond that you have to buy. Yeah, so it also has its limitations. And also for purposes of collaborative engagement online, the use of Google Jamboard, which is equally free software. So we can add those to the tools that Dr. Njiru talked about. Thank you. And I also saw just today, I received an email from Podio that they have combined Podio and Asana, and I would really love to see how that collaboration work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
Thank you. Jack Odiwa, Information News Service. I have a concern and a question. My concern is about the wastage, complacency, and the time in the public managing of resources within the public sector. And the department is coming up with several ways on how to curb this. And I think it is taking too long in terms of implementation, and something needs to be done so that this comes in handy in order to curb the wastage. Yeah? Now, my question is, I've been working on, it's called Public Service Performance Management Monitoring Unit. I'm a system that we always submit reports, hard copies, then the same reports that we submit, we are supposed to key them in on a system. How possible is it to link the NIMES with this system? Because the system is already in place, people are embracing it, it is somehow doing the same work that this NIMES is going to do, but NIMES is more detailed in terms of projects that are government oriented. How possible is it to link the two such that as you are reporting, you report one way? Thank you.
Let's have one more and then we give the analyst to respond.
Appreciate the good work that the presenters did. Her name is Collins, Carlos. I've managed at such an organization at Women Enterprise Fund. But I have no question for the lady from MED, because I'm separately. For me, I think yours was a diagnosis, which was also okay. Let me ask a question to Ada. Ada, what is your view on how leadership would plug into strengthen M&E or enhance M&E practice in a country such as Kenya without having too much focus on purpose? Because I noticed your presentation was heavy on purpose leadership and quite theory in nature. When I had anticipated that you got a good opportunity to perhaps tell this sitting how far you feel some nations where there's good leadership from the top level, parliamentary leadership, the executive top leaders, like the president or prime ministers, be offering leadership towards monetary and evaluation practices in those countries, and institutions being established in those countries. And then we could extend very resilient, because the programs are largely government programs. So even if you're very robust and well-led workers, and there's no goodwill in the part of government, boy, you will struggle with them. So what is your input in terms of, in a very wider context, to give value to the discussion that your session was focused on?
Thank you for those questions. I think I also want to ask one question. I'm not directing it to any specific panelists, but they can, one of them can try to answer. I was looking at when you're talking about M&E, Something that happens is that normally, and it came out in the morning discussion, that we normally focus on monitoring, but the evaluation aspect does not come out well. Then beyond that, I was asking myself, once we even, if you do monitoring, and even now if we try to improve on evaluation, what next? We don't just have that report and keep it. We need that information to be communicated to different stakeholders. The different stakeholders are of have different interests. So we have to look for a way of communicating to those different stakeholders depending on their interests and in a language that they can understand. What are we doing in terms of trying to ensure that we communicate this information to the various stakeholders? Because that is the only thing that can elicit interaction between the implementers and the stakeholders and arouse interest and ownership. I think moving forward, I think we still have, even when we are talking about monitoring evaluation, we also need to add that aspect of communication. Probably you can tell us moving forward what we need to do in terms of this communication. Thank you. And I open it now for the panelists to respond to the questions.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I seem to have most of the questions, so I'll go first. And maybe I'll just start with the word from Ogiwa for the NOS and talk about the possibility in terms of linking up the performance M&E system that you're talking about, linking it to INIMES. And I think that's a big possibility because when we developed INIMES, we did a lot of stakeholder consultation, and specifically within the public sector, because it's more or less trying to see how we can use technology, integrate technology in M&E in the public sector. And so INIMES has a lot of potential that as we promote the use, as we roll out and promote the use, we are seeing more and more people coming in and looking at how we can have information from a central position and then can be shared by different stakeholders. Because it's actually most of the times what you're talking about, the performance information that is INIMES, is what you also share with this in this other system. So that is a big possibility. But the fact that we just initially started rolling out INIMES, so ECMES last year, I think it's something that is bound to take a bit of time. Bringing on board the various managers and the leaders in the various institutions is something that we are really putting also across within the coming future. And also, I think I can tie to the question by the guy from Nawiri, Samburu. One, I think there are two terms. You know, you use CMES and ECMES. I think you're talking about ECMES, because when you talk about CMES, it is the whole integrated system in how monitoring and evaluation function within the county. And here we are talking about the structures, the people, everything that is used. ECMES just comes look at the technology component of making ease in terms of data collection, management, sharing, and even generating of reports. So there is other work beyond that that happens outside ECMES. And if it is the one, I think ECMES is still at its nascent stage in terms of rollout. We just did an administrator's training at the beginning, at the beginning of the year. But for this to actually take root in the counties, we have seen counties that have taken up, and this also speaks to the issue of leadership. Because leadership really matters a lot in terms of advancing the M&E agenda. And as you'll see, where there is good leadership, where there are champions, counties have taken it up and have really moved forward. Because after that, we've had counties that have now asked for their own training because it's not possible to bring all the 47 counties. And so in each and every county, you find that you need to have a pool of people who actually operationalize or work on ECMES to upload data and even generate the reports. So we are hoping that can happen. We have a few counties that have really taken up. And so you asked a question that does MED monitor establishment and implementation? Of course, but not that it is our mandate, because our work is to build capacity, provide the technical support. But as you all know how independent counties are, we cannot actually follow and say you are not done. Again, here we sell the idea, we talk to the leaders, of course through with the support of the counties or invitation. We talk to the county assemblies, we talk to the CECs, When we have a forum where we call all of them, and we talk to them, and then there are those that take up and those that do not. So as you will see, and even as we share here, there are counties that we don't even know what they are doing, and we know most of them are quite behind, and there are those ones that we know that have advanced. And I know Samburu, of course, is one of those that is a bit behind, not to preempt that. In terms of promoting public participation, yes, we talked about this in the morning. And we mentioned that in terms of promoting public participation in M&E, we have actually in the CMS guidelines, because when you talk about public, at the national level it's a bit not very clear, but as we go down, you know, with the proximity of governance to the people is where we are able to bring people on board, because you can know who is representing where. So in the guidelines, we have clear structures that are to be established. And there is clear indication on how you bring in the public to participate in the monitoring and evaluation. In the e-CMS, I think we also mentioned that there is a public portal where you actually do not even need any password or anything, and you can log in and actually be able to see in terms of the projects and the performance and all those kinds, general information, but not be able to change in terms of what is happening within that county or that public institution. Now, coming to Lennox, you're talking about some government agencies. I like when Lennox asked, he just left government the other day, and I would ask, maybe from our discussion, it would be good to have some recommendations in terms of how we tie up. Quite a lot the agencies is talking about are the semi-autonomous and what we call independent offices and commissions, which are a bit far away for us, because most of these sagas are actually tied to certain ministries. And for us to get to them, at times it has to be through. So when we make communication, we make it. And then it's supposed, you know, it's like when you talk to a county and the county is supposed to talk to a sub-county, and then that way. So for a very long time, we have found it, of course, those issues being raised, and some of them now have started engaging. You know, there's also that idea of when a SAGA, a semi-autonomous organization or an independent office writes to our PS, then we're able to engage directly. But for us, you know, working through the various channels and protocols, then we have to write, so it becomes that the PS will only sign to another PS. But when they write to us on demand, there are those that we're engaging with, there are those commissions. And so we look forward, of course, to open that space and be able to make sure that everyone is, of course, doing. About the issue of enforcement, compliance of enforcement is also still a trick, because, as you know, we don't have what do you do to someone who doesn't comply? We still have a lot. You see, in terms of our annual reporting, the biggest challenge is having incomplete reporting, because when a ministry, for example, reports, you find its agencies have not reported in terms of the work they are doing. And there's so much, you know, you can do, except bring it to their attention. So I think we are still working towards that, and maybe in future we'll have it better. It has improved with time, but we know we can actually do better. But we'd also want to hear from those now that have worked both sides, what would work best, of course, without a lot of antagonism. So I don't know, maybe that I have the podium, I can also mention in terms of what you're talking about. What next? We are not just talking about monitoring and evaluation. As we advance the evaluation agenda, we are still looking at how to promote the use of evidence in terms of decision making. We see a lot of complexity in terms of how we use evidence, generate a lot of that monitoring data, but of course not use it. And that is making sure that we also engage on the user's right from the upfront. Because if you generate information or evidence and bring it to me, and I've not been part and parcel right from the beginning, then it becomes difficult. So we are looking at it, how do we engage the user's right from the word, from the start, for them to understand, and for even us to understand. At times what we generate is not what they need. So we are looking at that whole process of trying to make sure that what we produce as within the M&E function is also something that can be used. At times we are accused of, you know, producing so much that some people cannot, that is not palatable or for good use to the people we are actually targeting. We engaged the parliament the other day, and they were telling us, please don't bring us this report on it. This is what we need. And of course we are sitting with them and saying, so how do you need? They are also adopting M&E, and they are engaging their own people who can sit with them, because we can't sit with them each and every day. And they are the ones who bring with us, like now when we are doing the next MTP indicator handbook, what are the indicators they're interested in? What kind of information? Because there is what they need. And so I think I'll leave it to that. We have other people from outside who can tell us in terms of how. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Lucy.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Lady Lucy, for particularly the last comment, which I thought maybe was general and anybody could respond to. And I'm not holding brief for Matt in answering this, but I just wanted, at least it's brought out the element of trying to link evidence and use, right, which I wanted to, it was part of my presentation, but I couldn't do it. Then I'm just thinking that in terms of communicating to the different stakeholders, I think in the first instance, MED has engaged communications and knowledge management professional. At least I've been able to engage with her during this conference. And then I was thinking that again, by the mere fact of just organizing these conferences and bringing the different stakeholders in the evaluation profession, I think MED is trying to communicate something. Yeah, because when they bring these stakeholders together, we are sharing best practices. I know in the different sessions, people are sharing, for example, like in my case, I was sharing some of the best, evaluations I have done and some of the outcomes of such kind of evaluations. Yes. Then the mere publication of materials, the hard copies and the soft copies, the ones that have been launched there, yes, we can read them, and the different stakeholders can get some specific usable ideas from those publications. Then I was really impressed with the management response to evaluation recommendations. This one, at least I've been seeing it with these big organizations like USAID and the United Nations system. I had wanted to come and mention it here as one of the potential weaknesses of MED, but I was cut short yesterday when WAGA presented the recommendations of, I think it was the 9th conference, and what MED has done in response to that. And I think that's really key. Management response to evaluation recommendations. How are we going to use that? And then the periodic reviews and annual reviews reports. I think Lady Lucy really explained that in her presentation, where she was saying that before we come up with a new plan, right, we have to find out what is it that we had said to do previously. What did we do? What didn't we do? So we can start with maybe what you did not do, you did not finish as you plan ahead. So I think that's just my response to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Then I give the response to
Yes.
Dr.
Yeah, first of all, I want to respond to Dr. Ponge's first question. Yes, the Podio has collaborated with Asana. And I said, these are open source, but normally they will give you a trial for like 45 days at most. So once you use them, they will tell you to pay. And I saw the highest, I think, is $45. So it's not that expensive. And you see you pay, and now you'll be able to customize for use. So they are open source, but after the trial period, they will tell you to pay. As usual, so many open sources. Then also wanted to add to that bit of communication. I think we need also I agree with all what has been said, but also the aspect of advocacy on using the utility of evaluation results. That I don't think we are doing it very well. And maybe this is the higher time we could maybe involve the CSOs, the VOP, and the reason why we need VOPs, because they're the ones who will reach out to people. You know, VOPs will go to churches and everywhere else. They will talk about following up, localizing, and like if it's an indicator, we localize it in a way that we're able to reach out to the common person, the Wanjiku, on how they even get their records, how they record the data collection, because the philosophy of monitoring and evaluation is on data, the consistency, the routine collection of data. And so we don't know what kind of data we talk about. And so even as we collect this information, and I want to repackage it and want people to utilize it, that rationalization of M&E, embedding it, and I was looking at it and I was discussing with my colleague, and was saying it's like a child in an orphanage, where they're always having relationship with their orphanage staff, but they do not have a one-on-one. There's no one, there's not a mother or a father. They can only go to the orphanage person. So there's that, that love of a child is not there. That's the way M&E is taken. Like everybody's talking about M&E, we are talking about it, but the embedding it, the processes is what we need to advocate for, so that we can have that interaction and use it on daily, day-to-day work or mundane. That's what I would add on it. So we don't put it like a child in an orphanage, where all of us are experiencing them, but we need to have that face-to-face interaction, that their processes are embedded in all what we do, and that can be a lot of advocacy. Maybe next time we'll be talking about the collaboration with the CSOs, the VOPs, academia. How do we advocate for usage of M&E? And now to take the national policy, I had a question for Lucy, madam. I wanted to ask her how the national policy that was passed, what is it giving us the mandate? What does it say? I want to see maybe some advocacy in the TV, somebody, Lucy talking about it in the TV and saying the way we are, even in the church, the Sadaka we correct. We are supposed to, accountability, because there's a national policy. So we need to inculcate this accountability, responsibility in the entire country, now that we have a national policy in monitoring and evaluation. So what after that? And maybe that's an answer that I expect from Lucy. Thank you.
Before maybe Lucy, let me answer the gentleman who had a good question. It's true. The leadership, the theoretical part came out more than the practical part. And you asked of some of the examples that really that practicality can be shown in terms of leadership. And this is an area also that I'm preparing to present in the EES. So although that was more of the secondary data, I'm also collecting some primary data. And one of the persons that I intend to talk to, it's one Professor Mugenda of Kenyatta University. Remember, she was in Kenyatta University, who brought out a lot of, so much of these leadership aspects in her work. So those are the people I want to interview. In Kenya, that's one person. Maybe even you could offer another one that you have seen, maybe has a good vision, maybe has, is applying some, or nobody can apply all, nobody's perfect, but at least is applying some of these skills. Another person or another country that I've seen was an area we were taught in when I was doing public policy in Strathmore, the Singapore by Lee Kuan Yew. This is a person who brought out a lot of leadership, which led Singapore from where it was. Maybe I think in the area of 1970s, it was at par with Kenya, and right now it's in the first world countries. So the things that he applied. South Africa, Ponke talked very well about South Africa, how they are doing, how they have applied their leadership in relation to evaluation. And I would say evaluation has come out very strongly in terms of use, in terms of application of all the things that we are talking about. And Rwanda also. Rwanda, the president embraces a lot of leadership and in relation to evaluation. So those are a few examples that I can really relate to. Madam, you asked about what we have all answered. I just want to give an example of something we did with the parliamentarians in 2019, before COVID, a project that we did as AGDEM. And we were empowering the parliamentarians in use of evidence, and we were using the evidence caucus, which is being led by Dr. Makali, on use of evidence for bills, for policies, and for budgets. And how they advised on sustainability, especially on the use of the evidence, is that the trainings that were to happen, should not only happen to parliamentarians, but also to the people who will be there when the parliamentarians leave. That's the research unit, that's also their staff. So that these people can continue using the knowledge and passing even to the others. Because we know parliamentarians, this year they are there for 5 years, next time they are really beaten off, so there's not that sustainability. So that was one of the areas that was really used to, to sustain evidence use. Yeah. In addition to what everybody has said. Thank you.
He's been raising his hand.
Oh, I was coming to close the meeting after he has responded. You have something to respond to?
No, he's been raising his hand.
Yeah,
He said you are.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. I didn't want to ask a question, but just to give a comment.
Yeah, true. Go ahead.
Okay, fine. First of all, I want to, my name is Professor Charles Rambo. I'm from University of Nairobi. First, I want to appreciate all the 4 presenters. I don't know it was by design, but the way the presentation was organized was very good in the sense that the MED started by giving us objectives of the MED, and then now we are able to follow how the other presenters integrated with what MED was actually about to achieve in terms of objectives. All the presentations were very good as far as I'm concerned. They resonate with actually what the country requires in terms of M&E implementation is concerned. There is something that is coming out very clearly in this particular conference, particularly utilization of M&E results, and that's very critical. And that has something that is not a question, but I think Lucy can think about it. Probably may respond if at all I feel like you want, but it's not a question. Now, that is coming out very strongly, and it has been believed that M&E plays an important role, which of course the Auditor General feels somehow that the M&E is taking their roles and doing their part. And that can really hinder the issue of resource allocation in terms of the resources the MED requires in order to implement some of the key issues in M&E. I don't know. But that's a question there because during Ponge's presentation, he mentioned something about that in allocation. And it was not a small thing as such, but it's coming out very clearly. But now, implementation of utilization of M&E results is very critical as far as M&E is concerned. Because if we collect data, analyze, and then we have gaps, which of course are supposed to be fulfilled in order for the country's projects to deliver services to the members of the public, and those results are not utilized, then we are wasting a lot of time. So I think that's an area that Lucy and MED as a team should be able to look at it very seriously. Thank you very much.
But she has been part and parcel of the process.
Give me a political answer.
Okay.
But I just want to appreciate that we're in the process of doing that, and what also he mentions is something very close. But about the implementation of the policy, I know we've been bashed left, right, center about it. But as we go along, and that's what we encourage the counties, once you've drafted the policy, and there's that goodwill among the stakeholders, nothing stops from implementing some of the provisions, the policy. And I tell you, that's what we've been doing. Apart from the issue of just being able to facilitate more funding for M&E and the issue of the uptake, I think we've done quite a lot in that policy. So I don't know when we get to telling people, we'll be telling them we have made progress in the implementation. But thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Another observation about what Lucy just said. I am aware that counties are struggling to develop their M&D policies. I happen to have worked in Tana River County, and I was actually instrumental. Before I left, an M&D policy was in place, and I want to appreciate MED for that. Now we have a policy in place for the counties that are struggling. now they have a reference point, a reference document that they can make use of. And this is one way of implementing what this, making use of the policy itself is implementing the policy itself. So we need to use it as a reference document for all of us, even in other departments or any government, across government. You can make use of it as a reference document to make to develop our M&D policies.
Thank you very much. I don't want to add anything on top of that. Being here, we are already past 5:10. We're supposed to have finished by 5 because we started late. We have to go up to 5. We are already 5:10. And I want to request a volunteer to lead us in appreciating our good presenters for the good work that they have done. And we also appreciate ourselves for being participative and contributing to this process. Any volunteer? Nobody wants to volunteer? Hamjafurahia kazi ya presenter?
I think, when Lennox, you know I'm an insider, so I give you this opportunity to lead us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to take this opportunity on my own behalf and on behalf of the rest of us to sincerely thank you for the wonderful presentation that you've made. Indeed, they've been quite eye-openers to us. I missed out on the technology tools. I hope I'll reach out to you, Madam Wanjiru, so that I can be able to get some more bit of it. And I want to appreciate Dr. Award Ponge. He's a gentleman I've known for quite some time. Madam Eda Kanini, another person that I've interacted. Apart from Madam Wanjiru, Lucy, we've been working together. So I want to appreciate you for the wonderful power that you've given us, because information is power, and for you sharing with us that power is an effort to empower us, so that once we make use of this information, then we expect that we'll be able to see some results. So I want to thank you so much, and thank God for this opportunity, and I do believe that at any point in time, we'll be able to meet again and share this wonderful knowledge and resources that we have amongst ourselves. With those many words, thank you very much.
Any volunteer to pray for us? We are praying for the day we will not go back to the Netherlands.
Mwenyezi Mungu, tunakuja mbele zako Kristo Yesu jioni ya leo, tukikushukuru kwa ajili ya uzima umeweza kutupatia. Tazama kwamba Kristo Yesu utakuwa nasi siku nzima, tukiendelea kuwa na masomo yetu. Wale ambao wanaenda nyumbani, Kristo Yesu, wacha tuweze kuwapatia safari njema. Wale ambao wanabaki